So, good morning, friends. Once again, I welcome you back to this class of video lecture. Friends, this is BA Part 3rd, English Literature, and we have been taking paper 1, that is Poetry and Drama. So, friends, today we check a very famous poem written by Tennyson, and the title of the poem is Ulysses. So, before I come to the poem, it is important for us to have a very brief introduction of one of the most important Victorian poets of, of Victorian era, that is Tennyson. On Wordsworth, on Wordsworth's death in 1850, Tennyson was made poet laureate. We are apt to think of the award of officializing his identification with the spirit of the age and to consider him the literary representative of Victorianism. But his brilliance as a poetic craftsman and the readiness with which in his finest work he voiced perturbations and aspirations of the mind and spirit that comes to man in all ages make the Victorian tag ultimately dispensable. The son of a Lincolnshire rector, Tennyson was educated at Cambridge. Cambridge was one of the renowned institutions of UK, including Oxford, and there became a member of a group of idealists who called themselves apostles, having embraced a self-chosen prophetic mission to crusade for culture. Soon there came a group called Apostle, and the members of this group were supposed to be prophetic in their mission to crusade for culture. They were culturalists and they propagated the ancient values of culture in society. A leading light in the group was Hallam, Arthur Hallam. His name is important, who became Tennyson's friend and his sister's fiance later on. Hallam's sudden death in Vienna in 1833 at the age of 22 profoundly shocked Tennyson. Hallam died at a very early age of 22 in Vienna, and this death shocked to a great extent Tennyson and exercised a lasting influence on his poetic career. The poems which came out in 1833 already included work of staggering technical virtuosity like The Lady of Shalott, Oene, and The Lotus Eaters. In The Lady of Shalott, it is as though Keats's sensuous richness and acute verbal sensitivity have coalesced with the haunting incantory magic of Coleridge, and the symbolic overtones add a mysterious dimensions with deeply felt personal implications. So, friends, the poem written by Tennyson entitled The Lady of Shalott reminds us of the sensuousness of Keats. It reminds us of the magical realism of Coleridge, all the elements which are very popular in romanticism is well apparent in this poem. That's why we find some of the romantic traits in Victorian era, particularly in the poem The Lady of Shalott, written by Tennyson. For the lady weaving her magic web and seeing only shadows of the world outside passing by in her mirror brings the curse of destruction upon herself by leaving her room loom and looking down on the real world. We recognize the underlying dilemma of the poet before the competing claims of art and the living world, and we are aware of a comparable dichotomy and a comparable technical mastery when we see how the languid atmosphere in the imagery and music of the lotus eaters. So, after the death of Hallam, this virtuosity meets with the discipline of a personal purpose so deeply felt that it must eschew exhibitionism and flamboyance. For Tennyson grapples with the problems of coming to terms with bereavement and death. His elegiac tribute, one of the important poems written by Tennyson, is in Memoriam. This poem was published in 1850, was begun in 1833. The sections were written at different times and in different places. The chaste material form, the chaste material form adopted had been used by Lord Herbert of Cherbury, but Tennyson was unaware that it was not his own invention. Tennyson deftly exploited its metrical possibilities, and as he gave periodic vent to his private grief, brooded on its larger significance. So, another important poem written by Tennyson is Maud, Maud, written in 1855. Tennyson called Maud a monodrama. It is a collection of diverse lyrics, many of them intensely passionate in rhythm and expression, which recount a tragic story of frustrated love. The violence and turbulence of tone match the state of mind of the narrator. His father and family were ruined by the Lord of the Hall, whose daughter Maud he has now fallen in love with. Her brother is contemptuous of him, and though he gains Maud's love, the brother's insult provoke a confrontation in which the brother is killed. The most important work of Tennyson is The Idylls of the King. It came out pieces by pieces between 1859 and 1885. Uh, the coming of Arthur and the passing of Arthur are sandwiched the ten tales. These are minor poems written by Tennyson. And there are many minor poems written by Tennyson which are not that important. Now friends, I think you have got an idea of most of the poems written by Tennyson, right? Tennyson said that they were both lines. So the next poem of Victorian era is Robert Browning. But today we take up a very popular poem written by Tennyson is Ulysses. This is the title of the poem Ulysses. So just to resume the introduction, Tennyson was born at Somersbury. His father was a rector there, and he went to Cambridge for his studies. Then the subject matter of this poem is based upon the post-Homeric legend concerning Ulysses. The theme of the poem has been taken from Greco-Roman history and romance. Ulysses was the king of Ithaca, right? He was the king of Ithaca, and the entire poem has been taken from Homeric legend. So he was Greek king of Ithaca. Ithaca was one of the city-states of Roman Empire, Greco-Roman Empire, one of the city-states. He returned home after a long wandering on his way from Troy. So he comes back from the expedition of Troy after a long period. According to this legend, as embodied in the 26th canto of Dante's Inferno, the entire tale has been recorded by one of the most famous Italian epic writer, Dante, in Inferno in 26th canto. Ulysses didn't like the peaceful, unadventurous life at home, and the problem with Ulysses is, since he is a man of activity, he is a man of involvement and engagement in different military operations, in different other operations which are concerned with wars and battles. So when he comes back to his home, he is not satisfied with this peaceful life, right? So, and he always likes and welcomes an adventurous life. So he doesn't like this unadventurous life at home. So he starts on another voyage of adventure. He wants to take an another voyage of adventure and exploration. He is a man of travel. He is a man of exploration. And this poem truly reflects the contemporary spirit of the Victorian era, when Britain was at its height in terms of exploring new lands, new kingdoms across the world. And it was because of his navy power, it was because of the navigation system expounded by the contemporary science, it was because of the empirical approaches of science. So people from different sectors of life, like mariners, travelers, scientists, explorers, set out to explore the world with their own paradigms and perspectives. So, this is a very famous poem, and Ulysses returned to his little kingdom of Ithaca after having been absent from it for 20 years. He comes back to his state, to his capital, after 20 years, but he soon came tired of the ideal life at home. His wife Penelope was old. Now his wife has been old enough, and the people over whom he ruled were barbarous. Even he is not satisfied with his own people of country. To him, they appear to be barbarous, uncivilized, and uncultured. They couldn't uh, they couldn't understand the real spirit of their king. There was no used administrating imperfect laws to these people. So in his opinion, he says that to rule over such a crowd, such a group of masses, was not graceful, not respectable. Ulysses had been all his life a man of action. Ulysses, a man of exploration, expedition, activity, engagement. His desire was to drink life to the lees. He had become famous all over the world for his activity. He had visited several countries, and everywhere he had been honored, looking to his military spirits. His character had been enriched by his experience. He experienced much, and he wants to have more and more experience. So, friends, we could gather experience only by travel, not by having an idle life. That's why the opening part of the poem goes like this: It little profits that an idle king, by this still hearth, among these barren cracks, mazed with an azed wife, I meet and dole. He is not just satisfied with everyone, with the masses, with the public, with his own wife, with his own son. The only dimension of life which he welcomes, which he likes, is travel, exploration, and to have knowledge and experience of life. This is the theme of the poem. So, even he considered it dull to pose and lead an idle life, as though life consists only of breathing. Yes, life consists of breathing. So, this is the poem, friends, and tomorrow we shall complete the poem. Thank you very much.